Welcome back to Mecha Rewatch. I'm Cossak 11, and once again with me as always is my co-host Lawn Dragon.
Hi.
And we got a pair of interesting episodes.
Stuff happens, a lot of stuff, a lot of plot.
Yep.
More like a normal TV show now.
Yeah, we're getting into a lot more cohesive. The pieces that we'd seen thrown randomly across the board in the previous episodes, now starting to come together here in episode 14 and 15.
And you might think that people are starting to coalesce what side they're on, but
no, don't get used to this. The pieces are going. This puzzle that is slowly being assembled in a couple episodes is going to be thrown across a different board.
Largely, I mean...
So episode 14. And it starts with Heero and Troa in a random computer lab at a library or some sort of archive or something. I assume it's just a public library that they broke into after hours.
Yeah, because they couldn't just get a library card.
Yeah. Well, that would be too easy.
It would be too easy.
No, they could get tracks through the library card.
The librarian was weak. That'll come up later.
That will come up later. And Heero is looking up Marshall Noventa's living family. If you don't recall...
Yeah, they don't say that at the time. They just say the girl's name.
Yeah, they just say Sylvia Noventa.
And, it's the first time the show has trusted us to remember something.
Yeah, because if you will recall... Noventa came up previously as Marshall... Twice, as the Noventa canon.
As the Noventa canon.
More recently.
And as Marshall Noventa, the guy who was in charge of the Alliance military and wanted to be peaceful, and then Heero Yui destroyed his plane.
With him and all the other peacemakers aboard.
Yeah, we put all our peace in one basket.
And look where it got us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Trey's did it on purpose. So, that's...
Yeah. This episode is going to provide us some insight on a few different factions that were mentioned but not really expounded upon earlier. Because we know about Oz, and we know Oz's goals, because Trey's is expounded upon them in great soliloquy. We have the Alliance, and they're there.
At this point, their goal is to continue to exist.
Yes. And now we're finally getting to understand the philosophies behind the Romefeller Foundation, which originally you could be forgiven for thinking are just part of Oz.
Right. They've been called out previously as, funding Oz.
Yeah.
And you would be forgiven for thinking they're the same faction. They're actually not.
That will become increasingly evident as the series progresses.
Yeah. And kind of why is what we're going to find out right here, because the Romefeller Foundation are... they're the Illuminati.
They're literally the Illuminati.
They're just the wealthiest people in the world who all got together and built weapons.
We'll get into that. And we'll get into it really quick, because notably, as soon as they do that scene, and then we cut to Relina and Noin on a boat.
Yes.
In, Napoleonic War uniforms.
Looking better than they've ever looked. These uniforms look good.
Yeah, these are very good uniforms.
It's dressed like this more. It's good.
Notably, there's a bit of discussion about Oz's use of mobile suits here.
Yes.
And why that Oz uses almost exclusively mobile suits.
Yes.
And they give a few... Noin is expositing some of this to Relina.
Noin exposits a lot here.
Noin exposits a bit, and then the narrator exposits the rest.
Yes. In general, this whole scene, there's a lot of Noin explaining things to Relina as a way of expositing to the audience, which is the most diegetic, natural exposition we've got in the entire series.
Yeah, once again, Noin...
It's much better than normal.
Be just killing it as a character.
Yeah, great. With her amazing hair
and yeah. Look, we stand for Noin here.
Yeah, no, Noin's the best. She would be the main character in most series, and instead she's just a side character.
Yeah. So, they exposit... So, the reason Oz uses mobile suits is for the first two reasons stated are because people have a tendency to fear large machinery, but also have like admiration for it, which I mean,
they're odd. A weapon so hideous and so powerful that fear itself will be our ally.
Yeah.
In the words of Alexander Kerensky. Like, that is literally their philosophy.
Yeah, essentially. But also because they chose the humanoid shape because they want wars. They want to call back to wars being fought by humans instead of buttons and switches, as Noin puts it.
Yeah, they don't want to just like blow everyone up with long range cruise missiles.
Yeah,
I mean they could.
We can tell you that today wars are fought with buttons and switches, but also people on the ground with guns.
We're trying to make that not a thing. You know,
it's a work in progress.
The day may come soon where we deploy, an army entirely of drones
That's another mecha anime that we'll need to watch for similar reasons. 86 is one that we definitely need to put on the list. Speaking of drones.
That's a plot point that comes up in Gundam.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but it comes up in a different way in 86.
Sure.
Then we get further exposition from the narrator, which is that the Alliance got all of its mobile suits from Oz.
Yes.
Oz...
Which we kind of already knew.
Yeah, which we kind of already knew, but now it's like more fleshed out. This is like the exact procurement process is outlined.
Yeah.
Which we won't go into the nitty-gritty on that. It's not really that important. It would have been more important if during the coup from Oz they had just said hit the hit the backdoor shutdown.
Yeah, if they had
switch.
backdoor shut down everybody's mobile suits or something, but that didn't happen.
No, because Trace doesn't want that. Trace wants war.
Right, because Trace doesn't want to win.
Yeah, so they're about to go to a meeting. The reason Relina and Noin are in these uniforms and all decked out is because they're going to a meeting of the Romefeller Foundation's main people.
Yes,
they're higher ups.
They're Bohemian Grove.
Yeah. And Noin actually gives Relina some very sage advice, which is, look, the people in there are the people responsible for your regular father's death.
She specifically says, "Forgive me," and then pats her down.
Yeah,
for a gun. And Relina's like, I guess that's reasonable based on what I did last time I was out in public.
Yeah, and then Noin says, look, the people who essentially are responsible for the deaths of all your parental figures.
Everyone you've ever known, except your mom, I guess.
They're in there. You can't...
You just attack them.
You need to keep it cool. Just keep it cool. Don't engage.
Yeah.
And Relina's like, okay, I won't. She will proceed to ignore that advice.
Do not tell Lord Denethor his son is dead.
Yeah.
In fact, Peregrine took it's best if you not speak at all.
Yeah. In fact, Relina Peacecraft,
it's best if you not speak at all.
And so they enter the meeting where an unnamed guy, he'll get named later.
Yeah. Evil mustache man. Different evil mustache man with very wide hair. Yeah. He's a bad guy. He's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And the speech he gives lays out that he's a bad guy.
Because he said, we all backed the Alliance originally because they were going to bring peace. But then they decided not to bring peace through force of arms, but through dialogue. And as we all know, you cannot have peace through dialogue. You must have peace through control.
Yeah, he just says the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
He's just like, we're mad because we don't run the world.
So we decided to back Oz and have them help us run the world.
Yeah, we're gonna take over everyone and be in charge because we're evil.
And everyone chuckles evilly along with him.
There's wine glasses clinking and stuff.
It is very
okay.
Oh, we are the rich and we'll have the poor die for us so that we may rule the world.
And then let me introduce you to the man who's made this all possible.
Yeah.
He describes it in a very specific way.
He goes, a valiant knight who will bring this great peace about.
Yeah.
We all, of course, know that it's not true at all. Trace
Also
wants
not true.
eternal war and craves it with every fiber of his being.
Has he actually told us that yet? We kind of know that. I don't think he's laid out.
I mean, he basically laid out that his goal is to play everyone against each other for essentially eternal
but I think
war.
we still think his intention is to win.
That's true.
We haven't found out.
He wants to fight the strongest possible opponent to have the strongest possible organization. Yeah. That's what we know right now.
Right. But he hasn't
spoilers,
yet made clear that he has no intention of ever winning.
Yeah.
He just wants to fight forever in Valhalla.
That will be... He will eventually reveal that later, essentially. Yeah. And Trey's gives a
speech.
He gives a very Trey's speech of Hi,
I'm Trey's. Look at my amazing hair.
Yeah, and then people proceed to admire his amazing hair.
Yeah.
Opening Relina up for the opportunity to get up on stage and say, "The Gundams are coming for you. They're coming for you all."
His speech is to the effect of we win, right? Like, aren't we awesome? We won. We've secured the world.
We've effectively won by this point.
And there's a bit of discussion between Noin and Relina, because Relina's like, "Oh, that's fucking bullshit," and Noin is kind of like, "Well, it's Noin."
Noin's like, yeah, I mean...
Just a little bit like...
Because Noin's like, we have the strongest mobile suit pilot. We have the most elite mobile suit pilots.
Trace says we have the most elite mobile suit pilots, and Relina's like, the Gundams could get them. And Noin's like, the Gundams are a nuisance, but they can't, like... It's actually a very salient point. Like, they can't hold territory. They can't run things. They don't have any power. They're just able to destroy.
Yeah. Which is completely
echoes of if you've seen The Boys, echoes of the speech that Giancarlo Esposito's character gives Homelander of like, well, you don't control the media. You can't. People liking you is way more important. Yeah, you could laser everything with your eye beams. It doesn't matter, right? Yeah. Like, that's not power.
Yeah. He outlines the exact nature of power.
Yeah. But this is Noin is she's correct, right? The Gundams can't win.
Right.
At any point. They can't, especially when you talk about like something like the Romefeller Foundation. Like, they could beat Oz by killing every member of Oz.
Yeah.
Right. But they can't.
But then Romefeller would just back some other organization.
Right. They can't beat Romefeller because Romefeller just runs the world. They are the economy.
Yeah. And it is actually like just this is like really good.
Right, it's a really good
outlining of the whole situation.
Yeah,
really.
It's a really good point. This whole Gundam thing was doomed from the start because it's not. Would anyone? Yeah. But really not take this opportunity to run up on stage and be like, the Gundams are coming for you.
Yeah. Best beware.
And then Noin escorts her off the stage, and crucially, they both do it in such a way that does not betray to anyone in the room that either of them is an enemy.
Right.
Because they both are. Both Noin and Relina are already enemies of everyone in this room. But they both, despite being hostile, act in such a way that does not reveal that fact to anyone in the room.
Well, and in fact, Trey's even plays it off as, oh, she's the little sister of one of my friends.
She's the little sister of one of my friends who's, like, gotten... Noin explains it as, like, oh, she's just gotten very, like, anxious about the Gundams. And, yeah, Trey's plays it off, oh, she's the little sister of a friend I'm looking after, which is entirely accurate.
Yeah.
Technically.
Classic case of lying with the truth.
Yeah, it is a true statement. And Trey's also like...
I mean, Trey's manifesto is basically just a 4chan manifesto.
He really does go for like a straight up, like... Yeah, I've heard Reddit posts that were more coherent. Yeah. And then he like stands on a balcony and has an intrusive thought and just like pours a bit of his wine out and lets it fall onto the, like, people below.
Yeah.
Because he's a dick, I guess.
Because, that is basically, Yeah. Well, they're also discussing with Trey's that the Romefeller Foundation's like, well, if...
Yeah, well, so Relina's outburst matters. It's not just a random thing because it causes all of the Romefeller people to think about the Gundams, right? It actually matters a ton.
And one of them goes, "Hey, isn't Zechs like restoring a Gundam right now?"
It turns out, they worried more about the machinery of the Gundams than the pilot. Like they don't even want Gundams to exist in the hands of their own people.
They want to destroy Zero. They want Zechs to destroy 01 as a message to the rest.
Which, sure. But and again, this will kind of come up later, but there's very good reasons why actually the technology of the Gundams is what the Romefeller Foundation fears more than being used.
Yeah.
Right?
They fear the machines more than the pilots.
Yes. Which is in stark contrast to someone like Zechs, who cares much more about the pilots than the machinery.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's even outlined in his almost his first line of the show. It's like his second or third line, but yeah, when he says, "The suit's not the weapon; it's the pilot inside."
Correct.
Yeah, and you can start to see where the cracks are forming between Zechs, Oz, and the Romefeller Foundation.
Yeah.
And these cracks will widen rapidly, especially between Zechs and Oz and the Romefeller Foundation.
Yeah.
As Zechs and his lads are almost now their own faction at this point.
That's coming more next episode.
But it's well on its way to happening.
Yes, correct.
So Noin tells Zechs through video call, "Hey, they want you to blow up 01."
Well, because they haven't decided to yet. She's just like, they might.
They might. Well, and she goes, "If they order you, will you do it?" And he
doesn't answer the question.
He changes the subject. "Oh, how's Relina doing?"
Yeah.
And then they talk about Relina and Heero and all that stuff, and just conveniently don't talk about the question ever again.
Nope. Then Relina threatens to burn down a building.
Mm-hmm.
Not to anyone. She just stands
looking out a window and
gazing
goes,
out a window.
I could burn this entire mansion
down.
to the ground.
Which is like, how?
Yeah.
By what means?
Like, you don't have any accelerants on you.
Yeah.
You don't have any...
Did you bring a gas can? Did you just have a 5-gallon gas can under your dress?
Do you have, like... Is your closet filled with, like, 18 gallons of, like, turpentine?
Yeah.
Like...
Did you... Turns out her dress is made of tannerite.
Yeah. No, the boat they came in on is made of tannerite.
Yeah, sure.
Relina's tannerite boat. She wasn't wearing the uniform jacket. Maybe the uniform jacket was made of tannerite.
Right, yeah.
Noin would give Relina a tannerite jacket.
Yeah, she would.
And tell her that it's made of tannerite.
And then pat her down as if the weapon is... The jacket itself isn't a weapon.
Well, that's just for show. You never know who could be watching.
Correct. Anyway.
Trey's... That's after Relina threatening to burn the building down as Trey's dropping the...
There's kind of this scene of him, like... Again, he's like up on a balcony above this party where people are, like, talking. And he just kind of, like... tips his... Well, it's not a wine. It's like a martini glass, but it's got wine in it. It's clearly got wine in it.
Yeah.
So already we know the Romefeller Foundation are just absolute bastards because they serve wine in martini glasses.
Well, either that or Trey's is just shows that Trey's just a true agent of chaos.
Because a couple others have them too.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
They are just serving wine in martini glasses.
Yeah, because I was about to say that this shows that Trey's is a true agent of chaos drinking wine out of a martini glass.
No, it's the whole Romefeller Foundation.
Yeah.
They hold parties where they serve wine out of martini glasses like a bunch of monsters.
Yeah. Seriously, like...
This is the worst crime the Romefeller Foundation will commit for the entire series.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean... God, yeah, it is true crime against good booze.
Very stupid. It's a nice red, too, clearly.
Like, look, there's a reason why a wine glass is shaped the way it is.
There sure is. Serving a martini in a wine glass wouldn't really matter.
No.
But wine glasses have that shape for a reason. Wine is about more than just the liquid.
If you want to get the full... It's all about getting... When you're drinking wine for, like, the sake of like enjoying wine in like this kind of aristocratic setting and sense.
Yeah.
You're trying to get not just the taste of the wine, but you're trying to get the full aroma and this is, you know, it's
That's why you should let your wine breathe, by the way.
Yeah, well, and it's because your sense of smell is linked to your sense of taste, and so you get more of the taste of the wine too, and that's why wine glasses are shaped the way they are, is to amplify that effect. And the reason they have the narrow neck
why you literally like shove your nose into the glass.
And different wines have like different proper drinking temperatures.
Correct.
To more
different proper size glasses too.
To better bring out those aromas and tastes. And that's why you have the narrow like neck on a wine glass, is so that the temperature from your hand doesn't interfere with the temperature of the wine. Like there's a whole, we could go on for hours.
Wine is, being a sommelier is a thing you can go to college for,
and is something that you could go to college for and get hired for.
Yes, for like ludicrous amounts of money. All of that to be said, the Romefeller Foundation, who are presumably drinking some very expensive wine, I mean these are the wealthiest people in the world, are just ruining it. They're just ruining it.
Yeah, which is
I mean, is maybe just a sign of how rich they are.
How decadent they are. Yeah,
ruin the best wine in the world.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, that would scan for Romefeller.
Might as well put it in shot glasses at this point.
They might. We didn't see any, but they might be.
Fair.
Just pouring shots of a fine.
You know, knowing the Romefeller Foundation, they would be the richest people in the world, and then just serve like box wine at their secret party.
That's the real reason they're serving it on a martini glass. It's box wine. Nobody gives a shit. It's a bunch of rosé. They just have pallets of rosé in the back.
Oh God, they would.
Oh man. So anyway. We get more we get a refresher on Noventa's death at this point. And then we go to Sylvia Noventa, who was mentioned earlier. Yeah. And one of her guards is urging her to flee the city of Marseille.
Yeah, they are in Marseille. They think they're going to get attacked by Oz soon. They're correct.
Because there's a large alliance base in Marseille.
Yeah. And she's like, I just can't let go of the memory of my father here.
Grandfather.
Grandfather.
Yeah.
Sure.
And he's I understand that, but like Oz is almost certainly going to attack this city. It's going to become a battleground.
Yeah.
And then the air raid sirens
go off.
And they are attacking with 10 Ares. And they are significantly outnumbered, but dumpstering all of the Leos, because the Leos can't really...
Because they're Leos.
Yeah, because they're Leos. I mean, one of the Leos actually does manage to shoot down an Ares with its main, assault rifle, essentially.
Another one comments that it's like guerrilla warfare. Unclear how.
Yeah.
It's not really. They're just being directly assaulted by Oz.
They're defending their military base. It's not a guerrilla action at all.
Guerrilla warfare. There's no hit and fade.
They're not like ambushing out of alleyways.
No regular troops
or using traps to like thin the numbers or anything. They're just having a shootout.
They didn't put an anti-mobile suit gun on a Toyota Hilux.
No, yeah. Look, until you put one of those Leo guns on a Toyota Hilux, you cannot call yourselves guerrillas.
Maybe it could hit something if that was the case.
Maybe. Anyway. So, Marseille is under attack.
Yeah. And this is also relevant because
Heero and Tro are in Marseille.
And they are worried that Oz will find heavy arms.
Yeah.
Which is in the,
in
sewers?
I think it's like an outlet pipe into the sea.
Sure.
Some sort of drainage pipe.
Underground cavernous water system.
Yeah,
that Marseille is apparently has. For. Yeah.
Well,
big enough for mobile suits, right? Like this is
notably
gigantic.
They figure out more about Oz's attack via one of the Ares gets shot down, or rather winged.
It gets winged. It falls to the ground.
The pilot makes a controlled landing, controlled crash landing. He bails from his downed Ares, and Troa promptly sucker punches him.
Sure does. Which is technically also a war crime.
Yeah.
Maybe a sucker punching him. Shooting him would be.
He didn't kill him.
Maybe sucker punching him is okay because you're both unarmed. It's actually questionable.
Once again, a gray area. Still not to the level of just straight up killing people who have already surrendered. Definitely not.
But he is a bailing pilot, which you're not supposed to attack.
And once again, self-preservation reasons.
Yeah.
For a multitude of reasons.
People to do that to you either.
Enemy pilots are more likely to bail out instead of fighting to the last bit of their equipment.
Yeah.
And your pilots will also not get shot when they're trying to bail out.
But maybe sucker punching is fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is,
look,
they
Troa and Heero are already illegal combatants. They're not in uniform.
They're children.
And they're children and irregular forces anyway. But...
Yeah, they, technically speaking, the conventions of war don't apply to them. Fun fact, you can commit war crimes against child soldiers and it's legal.
Yeah.
Because by dint of not being...
considered a legal combatant.
By not being convention-compliant combatants in the first place, none of the convention applies to them. It's a fun gray area.
It's a weird thing where, like, civilians can get away with and do things that militaries can't. For example, civilians can use and own hollow point ammunition, which is banned under the Hague Convention.
Pepper spray. Civilians are allowed to own pepper spray. The military is not allowed to use it because it's
constitutes a chemical attack.
It's a chemical attack. Yeah. There's loads of things that civilians are allowed to do that war crimes are not just necessarily the worst things you can do. They're a very specific set of rules.
Yeah.
Governing warfare.
Yeah. There is war crimes.
Most of them exist as rules because they're good for you to do anyway. Right? Like they're... defying war crimes rules is not usually to your advantage anyway. That's why the rules are made the way they are.
Right. Well, and like a good example is sailors rescuing opposing sailors who have abandoned ship. Because at the end of the day, the sea is everyone's enemy. It's a good idea.
Right.
And also that means that the other side will do the same.
Right, that's what we call enlightened self-interest, right?
Yeah,
you are saving other people because someday they might save you.
Right. Anyway.
But, yeah.
So they discover kind of the troop movements. Heero takes off in the truck to go find Sylvia Noventa. And
promptly almost isekais her.
Yeah, he almost truck coons her.
He flips his truck to avoid
Not
hitting
just
her.
flips it, he full rolls it.
Yeah.
Back onto its wheelbase.
And notably, as he's doing so, just screams out, Sylvia Noventa, which is simultaneously, a fun thing to scream as an expletive, but also, like, implies that had he been about to run over anyone else, he just would have.
Yeah. He would have just taken his,
whatever.
Chaos of war, I guess.
Right, but he cannot bring himself to wipe out the Noventa line.
Nope. So, the Alliance forces find Troa's Gundam at this point.
Yeah.
And proceed to defend it against the 3 Ares that have entered after them. 5 Ares that have entered after them. Right. Yes, sorry.
And lose. They lose.
Lose horribly. They don't even dent any... They don't even scratch the paint on any of the Ares.
Yeah, and they're like...
But they do give Troa time to get into the heavy arms. And then Troa expounds in great detail how he does not wish to take part in a he's unwilling to take part in a conflict between Oz and the Alliance, while then taking part in a conflict between Oz and the Alliance.
He's forced to. But also it's just been his job the entire time. It's really just that no one ordered him to do it.
No one paid him to do it either.
Yeah. He just wants to serve someone else who does the thinking for him. He's really upset when he has to, take action.
That's why he latches on to Ketra so much, because Ketra actually has, like, command initiative.
Yeah,
And
that's
Ketra,
why.
Ketra commands the Magwanaut Corps.
It's definitely not Ketra's 10-foot schlong.
It's definitely not Ketra's violin skills.
No.
I'm loving this running gag. It's
gag. I was serious.
Oh, I mean that's fair. It's heavily hinted at throughout the show. It's including the movie.
Oh yeah, no,
it never stops.
Mm-hmm.
And more power to him.
Yeah, no, it's totally fine.
You all thought
honestly,
again.
It is more interesting that way.
It is
than not.
It is. Well, it's more interesting for Troa and Ketra's characters too.
Just in general. Absolutely. Yeah. It's also funnier for Catherine.
Oh yeah, way funnier for Catherine, and funnier in a way for a character that will come up later.
Yes.
Much later. Heero then whitewashes his role in killing Marshal Noventa.
He sure does. He's like, it was an accident. Which is not true. He flew up, did a magical girl transformation sequence, and put a sword through the man's plane. He was deceived.
Yeah.
It was not something he intended to do if he had known the situation, but he did do it on purpose.
Yeah, he was.
It wasn't
he even
stray
smugly
fire.
Grinned after doing it.
It wasn't stray fire that caught the general.
No,
accidentally.
It wasn't like Heavy Arms was firing a spray from its Gatling gun and it accidentally
murdered the general with a giant energy sword. On purpose.
Yeah, he did. It wasn't even like he fired his Buster cannon and caught it in the blast. No,
he got close. Made sure, checked his target, and decided that they needed to die.
Yes.
Then found out later that they were the world's last hope for peace, and he feels bad about that fact.
Yes. And then hands Sylvia a gun and says, do it or don't.
Yeah,
the choice is yours.
And then explains, she doesn't, obviously. No. That would be weird.
She keeps calling him a coward.
She does. And she's fair,
not wrong,
right?
Yeah.
He wants the easy way out. He wants her to just take revenge and then be done. And she doesn't. She's like, no, you have to keep, fighting.
He basically hands her a gun and is like, do it, absolve me of my sins.
Right, and she's like, I'm not gonna give you the absolution of taking revenge. And then he explains he's gonna go to every single one of her family members and basically do the same thing, and that's a little weird.
Yeah.
And then she has a thing about how do you it's like, how do you keep fighting?
Oh no, it's
she's like, war is so horrible, how do you keep fighting?
Yeah, basically.
That's all I know how to do.
Which he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. That's fair.
And he's a child soldier after all.
Right.
So then we cut to Zechs. Well, first we cut to they posed the soon to be destroyed Gundam lounging on a hillside with its head in its arm, in its remaining arm.
Yep.
And Zechs is in a control room with a Gestapo agent. The man is dressed as like a stereotypical Gestapo agent.
Exactly one thing that makes him not a Gestapo agent, and it's the fact that he is in fact a black man.
Yeah, that's about the only thing that doesn't make him a Gestapo agent.
He's in fact, I believe, the only person of color we've seen in this show.
He might very well be.
We had some Middle Eastern folks earlier. Very stereotypical ones.
But we didn't have...
This is red shirt, all of everyone's white.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Wu Fei is indeterminate Asian.
Yeah. And Sally Poe is indeterminate Asian.
Is she?
Yeah, she's from that... She's from,
look it, though.
She doesn't look it, but
she looks Scandinavian.
She looks Scandinavian, but she's
You're right, she's apparently from China.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. No, there might have... No. Anyway, certainly every named character is white.
Mm-hmm.
They're all white, and almost every extra is white. There may have been someone with some darker skin in the background.
There was. It was Alex, one of the war criminals.
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
Sort of.
Well, and I think, like, one of the guys who, like, fetched Raylena after her dad's assassination was, like, darker skin.
Yeah, maybe.
But, like, everyone in this show is white.
Yeah. Almost to illustrate her point, we're struggling to think of anyone else.
Yeah, we're like going over like very minor characters that don't have names and being like maybe, or they were just in shadow. But everyone in the show is white, so it is nice to see a person of color, but also he's a bad guy. He may not be super evil.
Yeah, he may not be a Gestapo agent, but he is dressed like one.
He's dressed like one.
He's got the only thing that the other thing is that instead of the standard like circular shades, he's wearing aviators.
He is.
But he's got the hat, the trench coat, the tacky suit.
His like. He is the inspector from the Romefeller Foundation to ensure that Zechs actually blows up the Gundam. Now, there's a couple interesting things here. First of all, up until this point, we haven't seen any indication that Zechs isn't... Well, we've seen indication that Zechs isn't loyal. The Romefeller Foundation has given no indication that they have any reason to think Zechs isn't just totally loyal. Trey's seems to think he's totally loyal, right?
To him at least.
Yeah, but they've this guy is the opposite of that. He's like, we are gonna catch Zechs trying to save this Gundam.
And then we're gonna all be heroes.
Yeah, we're gonna get this guy.
And so they detonate a bunch of explosives.
Yeah.
And they go across a lake to go check it out. And while they're doing that, Zechs' chief mechanic says, well, we did it, but we lost almost all
it sure is a shame we had to blow up all the spare parts for the Toggies.
And Zechs like, well, I guess I'll just have to be more careful with it then.
Yeah.
And he's like...
And then we cut to Wing Gundam at the bottom of the ocean.
At the bottom of the lake that they just drove over.
Or the lake. Oh, because I guess this is Lake Victoria. Because is at Lake Victoria.
Yeah.
Someone presumes this is Lake Victoria.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just at the bottom of the lake. Where no inspector would ever think. Wing Gundam spends more time underwater than most cancers.
Yeah. Mainly because most cancers die as soon as they get into the water.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
No.
Yeah, and that pretty much is it.
That's that episode.
Yep.
And then we go on to again more fun with the inspector man.
Not quite yet. First, we start in Sicily with Heero and Troa leaving Marshal Noventa's
right. We've now gotten to the end
house.
Of his revenge spree in reverse.
Yeah, his reverse revenge.
He's like, well, that was the last family member, and none of them have shot me.
Well, notably because it's Troa who says that. He's like, yeah, you went to every single family member, and none of them took you up on it.
Yeah, I was just like, that's really weird.
And they leave.
Maybe Noventa didn't have a big
family. They leave, and soon after leaving, a ominous black sedan.
Yes.
The black sedan of Tailing has arrived.
They are followed by the black sedan of Tailing, and they're like, well, we have to lose him. Well, somebody's going to distract them. Hero's like, I'll do it. And Troy's basically like, I'm not letting you get out of this that easy. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, these are the two most suicidal characters in the show. Both of them would very much like for their problems to just be over by someone finally getting them.
Yeah. But Troa doesn't do that. Instead goes...
Move a car chase.
Yep. Troa's on a sports bike.
Yeah.
He charges straight at the sedan and then promptly hangs a left into an alleyway. Standard beginning of a car chase antics.
It's very short down the alleyway. Chase. The alleyway is just barely big enough for the car. There's sparks on the side. And then he just kind of jumps off his bike as it flies into the water.
Doing a backflip.
Off of it.
The sedan smacks into a light post and sort of falls down the stairs a little bit.
Yup. And that's the end of the car chase.
Well, Troa then lands on a clothesline that's hung up between two windows.
He remember he was born in the circus. He wasn't. He spent like 2 months
deftly
in the circus.
lands,
But
like like landing on a cloud.
yeah, lands on this clothesline.
And you have to
Uses
expect
it like
him
a
to put his
tightrope.
arm out like a gymnast
Right.
dismounting.
But he doesn't put his arm. He instead puts his hands in his pockets and walks this tightrope to the end
Casually.
That's so impressive.
Like ridiculously casually. Like he's walking down, like as if he were walking down Main Street.
Right. Just hands in his pockets, not a care in the world, walking along a clothesline. It is a hell of a thing.
Yeah. Truly impressive feat of athletics and acrobatics.
Yeah, absolutely.
From Troa. Really showing that, he actually was talented for more than just standing still while Catherine chucks knives at him.
Yeah, there's a reason that circus man was sad to see him go.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean...
And it wasn't just because he had a giant mouth.
And it does illustrate, that maybe is why they trusted him for the new act thing. Because it's just, like,
sure.
If he could do that,
the ridiculously good. It also put... Because this doesn't come up very often. But it's possible that all the other Gundam pilots are just as insane as Heero Yui in terms of being superhuman.
We see bits of it with Wu Fei's kung fu treachery.
Yeah,
but we almost expect him to be kind of kung fu because he dresses the part.
But Troa also is superhumanly balanced.
And also notably Wu Fei was also the only one to try and fight someone in hand to hand.
Sure was. Did lose.
In a straight fight, notably. Most of the other Gundam pilots do hand to hand, but it's usually like ambushing or sucker punching.
Well, and I mean, Duo assaults an entire hospital facility by himself.
Yeah, but he doesn't do it hand to hand. He does it with explosives.
And he clearly isn't superhuman in the same way because he's very astonished by Heero.
Yeah.
Dude, we have not seen Duo Maximo in a very long time.
No, we haven't.
Just not been in this series.
No.
For a while.
Yeah, which is a shame, but...
Right.
We'll see a lot more of him later.
We will, but it's just funny that I mean, I guess Tetra hasn't been in it really either.
No.
Well, because I guess they went off together, and
I mean, at this point, I think Ketra has the least screen time currently.
Yeah, but we have not caught up with Ketra and Duo in multiple episodes, which honestly is great.
Yeah.
Like
we don't need to see what they're up to now.
Yeah, we don't need to see what they're up to. It's okay that we haven't caught up to them. Because it used to be that it would insist on showing us what they were doing even if it wasn't relevant.
Well, and it would show like 5 seconds of it.
Right. It would be like 5 seconds of here's what Duo's doing as he blows up another base. We don't need that anymore.
If this episode had been structured as previous episodes have been, it would have been that whole going from the Noventa's wife's house.
Yeah.
Thing would have been they leave, they make the remark about Heero going around to everyone, and then it would have like cut to Relina angsting for 5 seconds, and then cut back to we've got a tail. Yeah, I'll deal with it. No, I'll deal with it. Cut to Ketra and Duo doing something
violent
for like 10 seconds, and then cut back to the chase scene.
Yeah, and we don't get that anymore. And I get why the early episodes did it because it was important before everything got turned topsy turvy. It was important to establish all of the characters and that they're all good Gundam pilots, etc. But also, man, it made for some bad watching. Yeah. And we don't do that anymore, and that's good.
That's A-okay with us. So notably, after this car chase, Heero and Troa are like, okay, so how are we going to transport the heavy arms? Yeah. We've run into a bit of a logistical snag here because we've been going on a road trip throughout Europe, and we've definitely caught attention.
Right. And well, apparently we can't steal an Oz carrier again because our standard mode of transport, the enemy's carriers,
they're onto that now.
They've caught on to that one. I believe they say this in a hangar because I think that's what they're contemplating is stealing another Oz carrier.
Yeah. Well, they're in a warehouse.
Sure.
Well, anyway,
some sort of large structure.
Might be a hangar, might be a warehouse. Tough to say because they don't really show the outside of it. No. They just show the interior. But and it's dark.
Yeah.
They contemplate going by ship, but Troa expresses concerns. He had a ship that he had his eye on.
Yeah.
but now they know they're being watched for. That might not be as easy now. And then
Right.
Noin appears out of
Just
fucking nowhere.
shows up.
And is like, you can use my ship.
Yeah. And, carrier, because she's actually got a carrier.
Well, yeah, she says you can use my carrier, yeah.
Right. And they're just like,
where did you come
"Excuse
from?
me," and point a gun at her.
Yeah.
Which is reasonable. She's their enemy. Although neither of them has directly interacted with Noin up to this point.
Well, no, and they don't know who Noin is. Noin notably says, "Hey, this is the first time that I'm meeting either of you. I didn't expect you to be alive." Points at Heero. And they're like, "Why are you here?" Well, my benefactor, shall we say, Colonel Zechs, would like to meet with you. And Troa's like, to pump us for information?
Yeah.
She's like, no. He wants to botchall you.
Yeah, he wants to fight you. Like, he legitimately just, like, he's the guy who fought you last time and you didn't finish and he wants to fight you.
He's like, he wants to continue where you left off in your duel.
Yeah. And they're like, That's weird.
That's weird. And she's like,
She's
yes.
like, yeah,
yes, it is.
It is. You want to come? And they're like,
well, it's better than staying here.
What else are we going to do with our time?
Yeah, basically.
Right? Maybe he'll manage to kill us.
Maybe we'll finally die.
Yep.
And so, then we cut to Relina, who's looking into Hero's supposed death.
She's having her butler Google things for her.
And her butler has clearly gone to the same school as Alfred.
Yeah, he's got connections online. Clearly.
Because he immediately says, yeah, Zechs is probably the best person who would know. Oh, by the way, or she's like, do we know where he is? Well, no, he's kind of dropped off the radar.
I tried to contact him, but he left his Victoria base.
Yeah. But we did get into contact, but someone fitting Hero's description has been going around contacting Noventa's relatives.
Yeah.
And she's like, we'll try contacting them. And he's like, I'll do that. Meanwhile, also, weird other coincidence, Relina. Zechs ordered enough Gundanium alloy to build two mobile suits.
More than that, he says the reason they left the Victoria base is because they blew up the Gundam. But also that was a fake because they ordered a bunch of Gundanium.
Yeah, it's rumored to have been a dummy.
Right, and it's just like, wow, that is the worst kept secret ever.
Well, especially because we hear multiple other people go, this... go on about this rumor.
Right. It's just...
Like, Trace goes on about it. Inspector Jouvert goes on about it.
It's Inspector Jouvert. That's... Yeah! For stealing a loaf of Gundanium.
Yeah.
Anyway, he figures all this out, and then... Do we immediately go to the letter?
No. We get a little bit more between that because he flashes back because he mentions that because she asks more about Zechs.
Oh right, she's like, "Who's this Zechs guy?"
And he's like, "Well, he was a knight and a renowned soldier in the Sank Kingdom."
Yeah,
and
she's
was
like,
very well respected. Yes, I dueled him once when he was a child. He broke a rapier.
Oh right, yeah, we get more of the weirdly brittle fencing foils these people use.
Although
another one shatters.
They hadn't quite invented their transparent fencing helmets
yet.
Yeah,
they were proper fencing helmets, which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, the story is basically he shatters this guy's... God forbid he just this story works just as well if he just disarms the guy. But no.
In any other story,
he
would
to
just disarm.
Snap a foil in half by hitting it.
I get why we had Heero snap the foil.
Right, because he was supposed to show that he's incredibly strong.
Well, yeah, because he doesn't just snap his own foil. He snaps his own foil and then puts
it through the guy's helmet. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sure, but now we just got snapping foils everywhere.
Yeah, this one is just like, I guess you already had that animation.
Might as well use it again.
Yeah, save money where you can.
This is kind of reuses the animation, the anime.
Yeah, it is.
But
anyway, the gist of the story is he disarms the guy, and then rather than like immediately score the point, like, goes and runs to the wall and gets him another foil and puts it in his hand. Because he doesn't want to, like, defeat a disarmed opponent.
He doesn't want to defeat an opponent with a handicap.
Yeah. Which, sure.
Yeah, okay. Sets him up as, like, yeah, he is the honorable duelist.
Yeah, he is Tres Honorable.
He has much honor.
Yeah, but Relina is like, oh, Second Kingdom. Those are words I've heard before. Well, put me in contact with him.
And then we go to Zechs' secret Antarctica base.
Yup.
Where they're prepping the Tall Geese and Gundam 01.
And they can't finish Gundam 01.
Well, no, yeah, because nobody, they're like, we've restored it to, like, baseline specs.
Yeah.
Our baseline specs. And Zechs is like, no, restore it all the way. To the ludicrous specs.
Yeah, and they're like, we can't...
He even goes into detail as to why.
He's like, the right arm is so complicated because it has to transfer all this power from the Buster gun to the Buster sword.
Well, and compensate for the weight of the Buster gun.
Yeah.
And be able to precision utilize the sword.
Yeah, and it would take as long to do just that as to, like, build a whole Gundam.
And Zechs is like, well, then
and he's like, okay, we'll just do the sword then.
Yeah, just do the sword.
Forget the gun, it's not gonna matter.
And take the parts from the left arm of the Tall Geese.
Right, yeah.
To do it.
Yeah, use the Tall Geese as spare parts, specifically the left arm.
Yeah. Which will come into play later.
It'll come up later. Right now, it's just, well, these are the parts we need. But yeah, it's very important that it's the left arm in particular.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so then we get Treize pondering Zechs while almost letting a child die.
Yeah.
He's pondering the rumors of Zechs going rogue with the 01.
Right, which is like, okay. And yeah, there's this scene, there's this kid who's, like, crawling after a butterfly, and the butterfly flies out off of, like, a dock.
And the child is about to crawl off.
The child is about to crawl off the dock, and then just doesn't. Treize doesn't save the kid, doesn't stop the kid.
No, he stops the mother from running to the kid.
He stops the mother from stopping the kid.
And it's almost like
you must let him, like, learn on his own.
Yeah,
like,
it is very like, he must learn to walk on his own.
If you assist him, he will not become strong.
Yeah, like, if you assist him, he will not become Ubermensch.
Yeah, it's very weird. But yeah, then the kid, like, doesn't fall off the dock.
No.
Like, just is like, oh, I can't get the butterfly, whatever. Turns around and like, stands up.
And waddles towards his mother.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I guess that was cute.
That was a thing, I guess. That sure happened.
It's a Treize scene. They're all weird metaphors.
Yes.
Every scene Treize is in is a metaphor of some sort. The
is.
child is a metaphor. The dropping the wine on the people is a metaphor. The shooting the bird is a metaphor.
Letting the birds escape only to have them come back later.
Sitting in the bubble bath. Every scene this man is in is a metaphor. He does not do non-metaphorical scenes.
No, he does not.
Even, like, his fight with Wu Fei is a metaphor.
Yeah. And so Inspector Jouvert we cut to Inspector Jouvert and his guys trailing Noin.
Yeah.
They say, well, we literally watched them load what can only be a Gundam into Noin's carrier. Yeah. He's like,
they don't realize it's heavy arms.
Yeah.
They think it's the secreted away
01. And they're like, should we apprehend them now? And he's like, no, we must have them lead us straight to Zechs.
Yeah. Because he mentioned, I think, previously, that, like, his goal is to get Zechs. He doesn't really care about the Gundam. He wants to get Zechs.
He wants to prove that Zechs...
He just doesn't like Zechs.
He wants to get Zechs because he knows that if he gets Zechs, his rep will increase even more as the man who brought down this, like, high-profile traitor.
Yeah. Despite the fact that he's not a traitor yet.
No. Yet.
Yeah. Everyone on the show is a traitor. Everyone's a traitor to somebody.
Yeah. I mean, technically, Noin's not even a traitor yet.
I guess?
She's teetering on the line.
She shot that symbol off the hat, but I guess that's not treason.
That's not public information either. I'm getting that she's not a traitor yet publicly.
Oh, sure. She's not publicly a traitor. That's correct.
Yes. That will swiftly not become the case.
I mean, lots of traitors aren't publicly traitors. If you're a public traitor, you're a bad traitor.
Well, yeah, but, like, you know, she hasn't outed herself as a traitor yet.
Yeah.
That will swiftly not become the case. So, Troa and Heero are inside the carrier. They're going over heavy arms, and it's, like, quirks in respect
Heero is learning to pilot it.
Yeah. Because it has different weight distribution, different weapons loadout.
Right.
And he mentions... he asks Troa if he calibrated the gun arm to
compensate for the extra weight of the gun, because it's much bigger than the other.
And
arm.
Troa said, "No, I expressly avoided doing that so that
it would be faster." He just says that it would be faster.
Yeah.
It's unclear why that would help in this moment.
But it will become clear later.
Yeah, if you think about it, have you ever actually done the thing that it does before? But it's not obvious in this moment what he means. What he means is that when that gun runs out of bullets, he drops the gun off before he goes melee, and if it was calibrated for having the gun on it, it wouldn't be as effective in melee. That's what he means.
Yeah. He doesn't do a very good job of
explain that very well.
But in a way, it kind of works because he's talking to another Gundam pilot who also uses an oversized gun.
Right. It's just on the other arm.
As they're discussing that, Noin is like, they're just like, you know, any other young pilots if you look at them from this angle kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then one of her crew's like, you know, we could just kill them now.
Yeah, it would save everyone a lot of trouble.
And Noin's like, you don't understand Zechs at all.
Zechs would never forgive us.
Which is true, he would not.
She's not wrong. Noin understands people.
Yeah, Noin understands people in general.
Right, like every time somebody is like, I know what this person would want, and Noin goes, that's incorrect, Noin is always the one who's right. Like, I know what Treize would want in this moment. No, Lady On, you don't. I know what Zechs would want us to do in this moment. No, lad, you really don't.
No, you don't. This is where we cut back to Rowlena and her butler. And her butler
this is where she gets the letter.
Yeah. Her butler goes, I have contacted Noventa's wife, and she has given me this letter to Heero Yui.
Yeah.
And she's like, he's alive, I knew it! And then promptly opens the letter and reads it.
Commits mail fraud.
The post office will be very cross with you about that.
Correct. The letter was sealed.
Yeah. And she unsealed it.
Sure does. Now Heero Yui can't be certain its contents are really from the sender.
No.
Had a wax seal too. Very nice. But anyway, yeah, it just basically says don't Heero Yui, don't feel guilty.
Yeah.
It uses more words than that.
It uses more words than that, but it is just Heero, stop blaming yourself.
Yeah,
you drama queen.
Well, it's very reasonable, right? Because she's like, my husband was a soldier. These things happen in war,
and
he got it. I get it. Like
you were acting on.
It's not
false
your
information.
Fault. You got tricked by Treize. It's not your fault.
Yeah, no, she actually speaks a lot of sense here.
Yeah.
Well, writes a lot of sense here.
Indeed.
I mean, her voice
probably dictated.
It's also voiced.
Yeah. It's
so. Voiced. Then we cut back to
it's voiced. It's voiced like in narration. It's not. She hasn't sent a howler. Like
yeah. Wow, wasn't expecting a Harry Potter reference to come up, but yeah. There we are. I mean, it was bound to happen eventually.
That's true.
I'm kind of surprised it didn't during all the school episodes.
Yeah, you would think, right?
Yeah.
We had better anime school reference.
Yeah, anyway. Heero and Troa receive winter gear from Noin, and...
She's like, here, have a coat.
It's cold in the Arctic.
And the coats are too large, which I guess is funny.
Mm-hmm.
And Noin notices that Heero Yui's arm is injured.
Yeah, which...
That actually matters.
Which is... It's more miraculous that it's still injured.
Yeah, because he heals from everything else like he's Wolverine. So...
He really does.
Ah.
This must be some arm injury like that. Like, we're talking, like, his arm... The interior of his arm must look like a hamburger.
He got hit by, like, anticoagulation bullets or something.
Shrapnel... Gundanium shrapnel is an anticoagulant.
Gundanium shrapnel. Yeah, sure, whatever.
I mean, he got it from when he self-detonated.
That's true. That's true.
There's presumably some amount of Gundanium shrapnel.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
Anyhow.
His arm is injured.
This is actually where we get the scene where Zechs wants the Gundam restored, but I mean, it could have been placed anywhere.
Could have happened anywhere.
Point in this episode, yeah. And then Noin is alerted that Inspector Javert is after them.
Yep.
Well, she doesn't know it's specifically Inspector Javert, but they're being tailed.
We're being followed, and she's like,
if we dump the weight of 2 Ares, we'll be fast enough to outrun them.
Well, there's a discussion of, like, we could, like, fly in a different direction and then, like, lose them?
And she's like, no, we don't have the fuel for that.
Yeah, she's like, nah, let's just fight them.
Well, she says she says first, we'll dump the weight of 2 Ares.
Yeah, but everyone knows what she means.
Well, and the reason I said it that way, though, is because then Troa calls her bullshit and says, no, you're just going to go out and fight them, aren't you? And she's like, shut up.
Yeah, no, we're
focus on your upcoming
weight, obviously.
Focus on your upcoming duel with my boss.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
they do that,
and she demolishes them.
Yeah, their 2 Ares beat like what,
15,
like 5 or 6 others. Yeah. It's not that many.
Okay, it's 5 or 6 others. Shoots down a couple carriers.
Yeah, and then they kind of wing her lad, and he crashes.
Yeah, he gets too cocky.
Yeah, he does get too. Yeah, he because he's trying to go after killing one of the carriers and he gets shot. And then they land. She's helping him because he's not dead or anything.
No.
And then they drop a bunch of like Leos on them and are like, haha, we have even more dudes. And then the carrier goes back for them.
Yeah. Well, the carrier goes back and Troa says you're weak.
Yeah, he does. He pulls a Wuffei. He's like, you're weak. And then like. It turns out the carrier has really cool laser guns.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
They bisect a couple Leos.
But then also the carrier gets hit.
Well,
so
notably,
that's a problem.
we're about to get another instance of killing people who have surrendered, because Noin and her lad both still have their guns.
Sense, though.
Yeah, and are back to back.
Well, no. So, yeah, Noin is like, okay, fine, we surrender. And the guy's like,
yeah,
I don't take surrenders.
And he goes, in this situation, the rules of war do not apply. He says
the rules of war don't apply to traitors, which these are accurate.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And then she's like, well, shit, I wish I hadn't thrown my gun away.
Yeah, sure wish I hadn't thrown my gun to the ground.
And then the carrier comes in and takes out the 2 Leos that were about to execute her. And then they get shot.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to have to make a crash landing. And then Troa goes, drop me off first. I'm going to solve all our problems.
Emergency deploy the heavy arms.
Yeah.
They do. It kills everybody because it's heavy arms.
Yep.
Notably, and then Inspector Javert surrenders, and
well, he doesn't surrender. He
just try to like give up.
No, he just expounds upon, I wasn't expecting Gundam 03 here. And before he can even attempt to surrender, he gets cut across the mech's shoulder. Then his mech falls down, like almost completely incapacitated. He starts crawling away from 03. And then Troa says, anyone who sees, he reiterates the line, anyone who lays eyes on a Gundam.
Troa goes over a whole, like, anyone who lays eyes on a Gundam has to perish. These are my orders. Which, you haven't been following those orders very well, sir.
Yeah, except for, Noin, Zechs, the Magwanaut Corps, a bunch of the lads.
Like, everyone.
Sally Poe.
Everyone who watched the news. Like, no.
That line really falls apart when you think about all the people who, and there are many who have laid eyes on a Gundam and have survived.
He's not even the stealth Gundam.
No. And yet he's the one who says that line twice.
Yeah, it's weird.
You'd think Duo would say that line.
You would think that would be Duo's thing.
You would have thought that would have been a line that you would have thought Duo would have dropped when it first showed up.
That would have been a fun way to handle Gundam Death Scythe. Just never have it on screen.
Oh yeah, just have like guys
like have interior cockpit shots of Duo and stuff, but just never actually have Death Scythe on screen
until
save your animation budget.
Well, yeah, until the new Edwards base.
Right, and then show this is what Death Scythe looks like.
Yeah, that would have been really cool. It's a pity they didn't do
that.
Maybe in the OVA they did.
Who knows?
Probably not.
No.
I did hear that not too long ago they did like a kind of rewrite of the manga.
Oh.
That kind of restructures a lot of stuff and makes it more coherent and like better and stuff.
Oh, that's good.
So if you're interested in getting a slightly different take, perhaps a more coherent take on all of this,
perhaps
that would be something to look into potentially. Anyway, so yeah, they kill all the interlopers and cut to not cut to anything. It ends with a scene of Heero looking like pensively into the distance.
Well, yeah, there's a sort of implication like, we are stranded in the wilderness in Antarctica. Like, because their carrier's damaged, and all their mechs are damaged, and they don't have their coats on, and...
Oh, notably, also Troa's hand cramps.
Yeah. This is actually kind of a plot point, right?
Yeah.
Troa's hand, after he kills all the dudes, Troa's hand cramps up from having to pull the trigger so much. Literally, his trigger finger is tired.
Well, that's probably what it physically actually is, but he's like, oh, why must I keep killing?
Right,
blah, blah, blah.
he attributes it to something much more psychological. But if you've ever, been in like a shit stomp of a video game, right?
Yeah,
where people joke that like, oh no, my trigger finger's getting tired.
Well, if you've ever white knuckled your controller in like a clutch situation,
long
enough.
That's a very realistic thing. I was
where your hand will cramp up. Yeah. And look, it's like that. That's what happened.
Look at me. I have 30 kills. My finger's gonna get a cramp.
Yeah.
Like
that is very much how it actually kind of plays out. Looking like anyway to everyone outside of.
But he has to like use his other hand to peel his hand off of the like control stick.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Why must my hand only kill?"
Yeah, and then he falls out of his cockpit.
Sure does.
Luckily,
into uninjured.
Luckily, like the thick, fluffy snow of the Antarctic wastes.
Yup.
And that ends the episode 15. So we are gonna pick this up once again next week with episode 16 and 17, and we got some cool plot stuff approaching.
Oh yes, very much so. Cool fights too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're not gonna get like 3 episodes of them stuck in the wilderness trying to survive as they try to make a fire on heavy arms.
Yeah,
as fun as that would be.
As funny as that would be. As they're like scavenging supplies from the down
them
carriers.
Trying to scavenge supply. Yeah, they just start pulling out their sear kits and eating the mac and cheese.
Yeah, and start emptying out the sear kits from all the downed Aries and Leos and like
that's not what happened.
Using the fuel from the downed Aries and Leos to start fires.
At the end of this episode, it's kind of implied that that's what's about to happen.
Yeah. So until next week, we'll catch you then. Thanks for listening or watching, depending on how you're consuming this media, and then peace.
See ya.